Welcome to the Imagine Me podcast. Imagine me, imagine you, imagine us. I am Lily Price.
And I am Tyshaune Toney.
Imagine yourself in a space where women can laugh and learn to value themselves by creating a deeper relationship with the divine. Imagine yourself free. What do you imagine? Imagine Me podcast. We are back. We are going to do a part 2 because part 1, we talked about, well, I always talk about relationships, right?
Mhm.
But part 2, let me trail it back because I'm ready to dig in. Look at me. Welcome to the Imagine Me podcast. I'm Lily Price.
And I'm Tyshaune Toney.
All right, we're getting ready to dive into part 2.
Yes.
Part 1, letting go, leaving your job, leaving that city, getting out of that stuck place, right? Leaving the relationship. I always talk about relationships. I just got done telling Tiff. Thanks, Tiff. Shout out to Tiff for listening to us and directing me to the right camera. Hello. I was looking at the chair earlier, and that's okay. So, really just kind of identifying. I always talk about relationships, but I do believe that that's my ministry.
Mhm.
And maybe that's why I went through some of the things that I went through. But we were talking about letting go and leaving things. And Ty, you had another perspective that I really, really want you to share, because I think that's a part about letting go that people really need to listen to.
Yeah. So, I was telling Lily that to me also, letting go doesn't always mean a relationship with another person or like your boss, a company. Sometimes it's in yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's us that are causing part of the issue in a relationship, whether
Yeah.
it be coworkers, friends, family, even just being in a customer service line, just trying to ask a question or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're like full of ourselves and we don't want to see that we're full of ourselves. So we allow other people to take the blame for something that we're actually
Yeah.
causing. And I think that's a huge problem with people, because I know we talked about being in relationships and being comfortable. Sometimes you're comfortable in your own self
Absolutely.
and you can't get out.
When you were in your marriage, right? Because when I think about my past relationship, even though like during that time I could find everything wrong that other person did, right? Like they're wrong, right?
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden it was like I had to start identifying I was wrong too.
Mhm.
There were things that I didn't do right as well. And we talked about this before, but sometimes the stuff that the other person do, it can be so outrageous. Y'all,
Mhm.
sometimes y'all be so outrageous with your
Mhm.
actions. Don't they?
Yeah, but
They be
it's
outrageous.
it's women too.
It
Excuse
is
me.
women. But I'm not even saying this to men. I'm
Mhm.
saying it to the other person. Okay, because I'm one person, but you the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
So to the other person, sometimes your actions are so outrageous
Mhm.
that a person like me can't see where I need to fix.
That's true.
Because you're just out here doing the most. That's what they used to say when I used to be working at the middle school. The little girl, they be getting ready to hit somebody, be like, oh, they doing the most. I'm about to knock them out. Be like, don't knock them out.
Mhm.
But that's what they're doing. Like, they'll be out here doing the most. And so you can't see to fix you.
That's true.
But you really can't see to fix you unless you leave, right? Or can you see it within that relationship?
I just
Or is it when you want to see it?
I think it's all of that.
Okay.
When you want to see it and if you're actually going to do it, I feel like stepping out can be temporary. I don't think it
Yeah.
has to be permanent either.
Yeah.
I do believe that some people need to be on their own, especially being in a relationship for so long or going through relationships back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
Because some people are, once again, are afraid of being alone. So, like we talked about in the last episode, they settle
Yeah.
and they just deal with whatever's going on because they're like, you know what? This is okay. Like, I'm
Yeah.
still surviving. I'm alive. I got a house. I got this. Like, you do try to be grateful for everything that you do have and that's
Yeah.
going on. But there also still is something inside that's like, okay, you need to move forward. You need to change this. Even if it's just you that need to change, it doesn't mean you have to leave the relationship or leave your job. If you want to stay in your job, okay, what can you do to be promoted? What do you have to do to do better, to
Right.
move forward? What
Right.
position do you want
Wow.
to move forward to? And even like in yourself, it's like, what do you want for yourself?
Yeah.
Do you still want to be sitting here like in a cubicle? No offense to anybody in cubicles, but you want to sit in a cubicle for the
Yeah.
rest of your life.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Even if you're in the cubicle, right? What about something outside the cubicle? Like when you
Office.
get off. Well, but yeah, but even when you get off work, like, okay, maybe you're cool with the cubicle, right? But are you stepping into your purpose that way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you do something after work? Can you try to find the things that you used to like to do or you used to enjoy, like the hobbies or things like that that you can get into? And then find your drive. Find what motivates you. You know what I mean?
And I feel like the question came to me is, do you really know you if you're unsure of whether you should stay in something or leave out of something?
Right.
Like, if you don't know you, then you need to leave out of somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said, even if it's temporary.
Yeah.
So I think we're so selfish and we try to cover up so much
Oh
instead
my
of
gosh.
dealing with it that, like you said earlier, we can't see what we're doing wrong.
Because of y'all trifling people out there that just be doing the most. It's not us, though. It's not me and you.
No,
We don't do stuff like
never,
that.
never.
We don't do those types of things to people. What's wrong with you guys? No, no. Humbly, I say, like,
Yeah.
I've definitely identified there were things that I needed to change.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't in just the domain of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
There were different areas of my life that I needed to change in order for me to be better for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But it definitely took leaving
Mm-hmm.
and letting go. And not even necessarily letting go, putting God first. I mean, I did put God first at that time. I was taking care of myself. I was working out. I had just had a baby. And then I was just like, it's time to go. Like I knew it was time to go. I just didn't have enough power within myself to say I wanted to leave,
I
you
think
know?
sometimes too, we don't see things that we're doing wrong until another person comes in our life and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing everything that we asked for, or it's the best job we ever had. And then we're like, dang,
It's me.
yeah, like, I'm not appreciating you enough. Oh, I guess I didn't do that in my last relationship.
Ooh,
Or, oh, I
Tyshaune,
didn't work
why
hard
are you
enough.
sharing all my business?
I don't work hard.
And me and you
Like,
talked about that in confidence, you know?
like, oh, I didn't do my job. I didn't work hard on my job. Like, I need to
Yeah.
do better. Like, if you could do the bare minimum to get by, people do the bare minimum to get by. Like, they
Yeah.
don't do everything they can to do better. They
Right.
just want to do this part, be done, and that's it.
Yeah. I like how you said sometimes it takes other people. Healthy relationships, and I don't mean like partnerships, marriages.
Mhm.
I mean healthy relationships, like even with friendships, workships. What is that? Is that a word? Workships,
Sure.
coworkerships, cruise ships. That's where Ty is still at the cruise.
I am. I'm over here swaying. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm
But
swaying.
seriously, like when you're around good, healthy people,
Mhm.
kudos to my husband. I just want to give him his flowers while he's here. Sometimes I think that I discuss past situationships,
Mhm.
okay, so much that I don't show enough appreciation for my relationship in my marriage today. And a lot of that is just because I want to empower other people. But shout out to my husband because meeting him showed me and still shows me like the stuff that I need to work on. Yeah, it shows me. He loves that I do the podcast. He loves that I'm a mom. Like he loves all those things, you know. But he will call me out on my stuff in a minute. Like, hey, you need to like chill out. Like, chill. Don't worry so much. Don't this so much. So I've been able to process like, wow, I do really worry a lot. But when you're in a bad situationship,
Mhm.
you are gonna worry,
Mhm.
right? Like if you're getting cheated on all the time, aren't you gonna worry about getting cheated on? You know, if you're getting lied to all the time, aren't you gonna worry that they're lying to you? right?
Mhm.
If you're at a job where they keep on firing people and letting people go and then laying people off and then aren't you going to be worried that like, oh my gosh, am I next?
Mhm.
Aren't you stressed? Like all of that kind of stuff. Um, those types of situations create a space for people to worry, to be down, to be angry, all of those things, because you're not really in a happy place. You're just stuck. You're just being
Mhm.
complacent.
Mhm.
So when you surround yourself with healthy people and in healthy situations, then you can see your crap.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm able to call him out on his stuff. Like, I love him. He's great, but he's not perfect.
Mhm.
Neither one of us are. But I think we're in such a healthy space, thank God, that he's able to tell me, like, hey, like, this is what you need to work on. And I can come back to him and say, babe, this is what you need to work on too.
Mhm.
And we can help each other through that. But if you're in a red flag place, nobody's helping anybody. If I'm doing something wrong, but you out here doing everybody else,
Mhm.
right? And you're telling me what I'm doing wrong. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing wrong. I'm like
Mhm.
thinking about what you're doing wrong.
Mhm.
I mean, am I making sense or am I just
Yeah.
rambling on?
Mm-mm.
Like all the blame is on you because your
Yeah.
stuff is so big.
Yeah.
I can't hear what you're saying right now. So, really identifying what's healthy for people, what really helps people come to a place where they can be themselves,
Mhm.
a healthy them.
You just gotta know what you wanna put up with and deal with.
There was something else that you said though, and I asked the question, but are we willing to? So, like, even in relationships, and might be going somewhere else, especially marriages where someone cheats. Do you think you can forgive your partner and go back? Does that mean that you're supposed to leave? You know, like, does that mean that you're supposed to leave? Or is it their actions after that that determines whether you are supposed to leave or not?
It's a hard one. I think that would have a lot to do with where you are.
Because you talked about changing you,
Yes.
right? So, like, in marriages, we do have to be like, we have to die to self the same way
Mhm.
we have to do with Christ. Like, we
Mhm.
got to die to self. It's the same thing with a marriage. Like, we have to die to self in order for
Mhm.
this to work. So I can't just buy Gucci bags as my husband. So die to self. Can't buy the
Yeah.
Gucci bag.
Mhm.
So at what point are we willing to put up with certain things and not let go of things, or die to self and love that person enough to change in those things in marriage? And I'm asking you because you've been through
I
this.
think it's possible for sure to, like, forgive someone and, like, flourish after all that has happened. I do think it's possible. Um, but I also feel like it dep as a human being,
The-
it depends on, like, how strong you feel you are.
Mhm.
If you really truly believe that you can move past what happened and love this person for just being the person and not keep bringing up whatever happened, what they did. Because if you moving on, you moving on.
Right.
Um, but then with a lot of people, and it was with myself too, feeling like, okay, yeah, he says he's not doing anything now, but will it happen again if he isn't doing it now?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what I had,
Yeah.
like, going on. So I think, and I'm not saying that he was doing
Yeah.
anything in the last year or 2 or 3 or whatever. It just was still in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And for so long, feeling like, okay, I should have walked away.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it all was him. I'm not saying that at all. Like, there was things about me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I felt like I wasn't good enough for him because, I mean, there was good times in our marriage. And um, I feel like there was times where he was doing the best he could.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it just depends on where you are.
I felt like there were times like that for me too, like
Mhm.
where that person was really trying, and I was like,
Mhm.
I ain't messed up way too much.
Yeah,
You
it
fold
it
that
does.
shirt wrong, and you gonna hear about it. You didn't put the crease in the wrong spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's not fair for either party,
Mhm.
you know. And just because somebody does something, is it fair for us to hold on to it?
Yeah, because God doesn't do that to us with everything.
Yeah,
He forgives us
he does.
over and over again.
He does. I think that. the conversation about really stepping out of your comfort zone and making change, I think it's really deep when it comes to what you talked about us changing ourselves. We do have to be willing to change ourselves if we're getting ready to step out into a place that's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
You know, I was just talking to someone about this today. When Joseph had his dream that like his brothers were going to bow to him and all of that, like God gave him the dream, right? He ain't tell him how he was going to get there. You know, he just gave Joseph the dream. They gonna bow to you. So he bragging about it with his coat. I always say a leather jacket. They say the coat of many colors. I say the leather jacket, right? So he had his new leather jacket. He walking around. He talking about, yeah. The Lord gave me this dream that all y'all gonna bow to me. But God didn't tell him the blonde hair part,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The transition between black hair and red hair is the blonde hair.
Mhm.
And what happened is they threw him in that pit. And he was a slave and then a prisoner. And his journey went on for years. This wasn't the short 6-month stint. Well, 6 months I was a slave, and for 6 months I was a prisoner. This was years and years and years and years, and then some more years and a couple more years after that
Mhm.
that he went through this. But he had to be willing to put God first and trust the process and be willing to accept that there were some things within him he had to change.
Mm.
God would not have put him in that pit if it wasn't for his development, right? So sometimes what we think is bad when we go through divorce, when we go through these transitions, when we go through leaving a job and I can't pay my bills, or I don't know how I'm going to do this, and I don't know how to start this up, or my kids are out of control, or, you know, all these different things that might be happening in our lives, right? Or I left my city and I moved to this new city. Now I can't find a job. You know, I can't find the right place to stay. I don't have any friends. You know what I mean? I really stepped out and this is where I'm at. I'm in my blonde hair stage. Shout out to the ladies with the blonde hair.
Mhm.
Blonde hair don't care.
'Cause they be wearing it.
Right. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me transitioning into red. But there's that stage where we feel like, well, I should not have done this.
Mhm.
You know, especially when you leave a relationship and you start dating. Here, Lily, go with them relationships again. I'm talking about it because it's my calling. Thank you very much. Sign off if you're not interested. But when you start dating again, you're like, oh, why did I do this? Maybe I shouldn't have got a divorce. Maybe I shouldn't have got separated. Maybe I should have stayed with my baby daddy because this sucks,
Mhm.
right? But you have to understand it's for your development.
Oh, for sure.
It's absolutely for your development. Joseph came out of that pit, being a slave, being a prisoner, and being the second in command in Egypt. And he wasn't an Egyptian. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So he had to be developed into that. We have to be developed into what God wants us to be. And sometimes these decisions and these challenges that we go through, they're for our development. And we keep asking God, where are you? And he's like, I put you here.
Mhm.
That's where I'm at. Right here next to you. I'm in the pit with you.
Mhm.
This guy you looking at with this big old belly, I'm right there across from you. I'm him. No, he ain't the one. I know you don't want to be on this dinner. Dog, you don't want that whole thing back. Don't go back. Keep moving forward. Why you be on a date with somebody? You done left the relationship, you on a date, and you like, oh my
Like,
Lord, I need to call my baby daddy back. Because his belly is big.
Here's the next one.
Right. I feel like this, though. God will look at you and be like, that man you sitting across from, and you thought this was going to be a great date, and it ain't. It's okay. It's for your development.
Mhm.
It's for your development. Stepping into your purpose feels like it sucks sometimes. It can be a lonely place, too. When you start to step in to different places and in the area that God wants for you, it's lonely. It feels that way. I'm not going
Mhm.
to say that it is, but it feels that way. You will look on your Facebook and your Instagram and everybody's at the club but you. Everybody's going out but you. Everybody got a friend but you.
Mhm.
You might not be able to afford to go. You might not have the dress to wear. You might not have the man on your shoulder. It's all for your development, and there's a time and a season. We laugh about it. We laugh about certain things, and you should. You should be able to look at these situations and laugh, Don't get into the place where you're like, okay, I shouldn't have did this. Don't go backwards. Sodom and Gomorrah. There was a new opportunity outside of Sodom and Gomorrah. But Lot's wife turned around because she wanted to see some more of that old little city, that old little place, that place that was comfortable. Whether she felt safe in it or not. Oh, let's talk about that. You will be absolutely unsafe, miserable, and stuck, but will stay in that place because it's so comfortable and familiar.
Yes, for sure.
Jesus. Sodom and Gomorrah was familiar to somebody. They was raping the angels in Sodom and Gomorrah. And she had the nerve to look back because it was comfortable. That's what she knew. That's where she was. But she didn't have faith enough to just move forward, keep her eyes on what's in front of her. It's when we look backwards that we turn into the salt, a pillar of salt. So don't turn into a pillar. You know what I mean? Move forward. Don't get stuck looking back at the stuff that hurts you, that doesn't feel good, As much as I was miserable that last few months at my job, I absolutely was willing to go back because the pain, the growing pains of God turning me into an entrepreneur. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I thank God for my husband every day because he was like, we got this, we got this, we got this. I'm like, okay. It's like going up on the roller coaster. You're like, you sure? You sure? It's still cranking. This is pretty hard.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was looking for jobs. I was trying to go back. I'm like, well, maybe I should go back. They still hiring for my position. They ain't filled it yet. That's how scary it was. Relationships, we want to go back. Neighborhoods, we want to go back. You know what I mean? Behaviors. You've been clean, you've been sober, you know what I'm saying? You've been doing all right. And then the stress hits you because you didn't quit drinking, quit smoking, quit doing all this stuff. And then the stress in real life hits you and you ain't got that drug or that alcohol to keep you going. So you start going back, to what's comfortable for you. Don't turn into the salt. Step into your purpose, right? I feel like you're listening to me right now. Are you? Is it good?
It is.
Do y'all think it's good?
I'm listening.
I mean, we have to, I can't explain it enough. The scary, wonderful feeling of letting go. Right?
Yeah. So this is what I was thinking. So it's kind of reminding me of when I got my tubes tied.
Ooh.
So before I got my tubes tied, I'm like, you know what? I'm not having no more children. This world is crazy, expensive. I don't want to do it no more.
That's it.
That's how I was feeling. But when it actually happened, I felt like something was taken from me.
Yeah.
Like I really felt like it was taken from me. And I've never had that. Like I was kind of grieving a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to worry about bringing a kid in this world. And now I'm older. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough that my eggs are old enough. And I don't want to, bring children in the world and they struggle,
Yeah.
in their future.
So let me ask
Everything
you,
is
like,
not-
even when you was feeling that way, look at your life now. You're going on cruises, you're doing all this stuff. Would you
Right.
want a baby?
That's what I'm about to say. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I thought that was a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing because now my kids are of age so they can watch each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier for someone else to watch them.
Here go some graham crackers.
I know.
That's the way you here goes some cook.
Like, for real. Like, it is easier now.
Right.
It's so much easier now. And I'm like, dang it. But I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now if I would have had another kid.
Yeah.
So it was just That's something I thought about, and I just felt like even though something felt like it was taken from me, it was actually a good thing in the end.
I like that.
Yeah.
You think you're losing something, but it's
Mhm.
actually an advantage.
Mhm.
You know, here's the serious moment. It's going to hurt, it's painful, and it's
Mhm.
scary. Stepping out, especially relationships because you bond with people. You know, that it creates a soul tie, it creates a bond, you feel connected. It's like your twin is leaving. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But it's okay. It can feel like you're losing something, but you're getting ready to gain.
Mhm.
And I mean these relationships with all types of people, friendships, partnerships, marriages, job, coworkers, all of that kind of stuff. We attach ourselves to these people, places, and things, right?
Mhm.
And it becomes emotional. For our listeners out there, it can be painful, it can be scary. When you step out, it's not always going to look good. Don't let the adversary fool you and trick you. Step out, keep moving forward, step into your purpose. Imagine me, imagine you, imagine us stepping out, having faith. Your faith is your righteousness. God is with you. Hang in there. And whenever you start to struggle, what episode is this? I don't know what episode number it is, but find us and hit the replay button because we're going to motivate you to step into your purpose.
Mhm.
And we out.
We out.